These are 10 craziest AI predictions from the Joe Rogan Podcast.
Episode 2345. Joe Rogan and Roman Yampolsky dive into the true worst-case scenario of AI and how superintelligence could overpower humanity.
2379. Joe Rogan with Matthew McConaughey explores how AI could replace leaders, reshape humanity, and push us toward a future where humans must merge with machines to survive.
Episode number 1169. Elon Musk warns AI will surpass human control. Humans must merge with AI to survive and thrive.
My question is, I know how much time you must be spending on your Tesla factory. I know how much time you must be spending on SpaceX, and yet you still have time to dig holes under the ground in LA and come up with these ideas and then implement them.
I got a million ideas.
I'm sure you do.
There's no shortage of that. Yeah.
I just don't know how you manage your time. I don't understand it. It doesn't even seem humanly possible.
I do basically. I think people don't totally understand what I do with my time. They think I'm a business guy or something like that. My Wikipedia page says business magnate.
What would you call yourself?
I'm a business magnet. Can someone please change my Wikipedia page to magnet?
They'll change it right now.
Please change
it's probably
it
already changed.
It's locked. So somebody has to be able to unlock it and change it to magnet.
Someone will get
I want
that.
to be a magnet. No, I do engineering and and manufacturing and that kind of thing. That's 80% or more of my time.
Ideas and then the implementation of those ideas.
That's hardcore engineering,
Yeah.
designing things,
Right.
structural, mechanical, electrical, software, user interface, engineering, aerospace engineering.
But you must understand there's not a whole lot of human beings like you. You know that, right? So you're an oddity.
Seems, yes.
To chimps like me.
We're all chimps.
Yeah, we are.
We're one notch above a chimp.
Some of us are a little bit more confused. When I watch you doing all these things, I'm like, how does this motherfucker have all this time and all this energy and all these ideas, and then people just let him do these things?
Because I'm an alien.
That's what I've speculated.
Yes.
I'm on record saying this in the past. I wonder.
It's true.
I mean, if there was one. I was like, if there was maybe an intelligent being that we created, some AI creature that's superior to people, maybe he'd just hang around with us for a little while like you've been doing and then fix a bunch of shit. Maybe that's the way.
I might have some mutation or something like that.
You might. Do you think you do?
Probably.
Do you wonder? You're around normal people, you're like, You're like, what's up with these boring, dumb motherfuckers? Ever?
Not bad for a human, but I think we'll not be able to hold a candle to AI.
You scare the shit out of me when you talk about AI. Between you and Sam Harris. I didn't even consider it until I had a podcast with Sam once.
Sounds great.
He made me shit my pants. Talking about AI, I realized, this is a genie that once it's out of the bottle, you're never getting it back in.
That's true.
There was a video that you tweeted about one of those Boston Dynamic robots. And you're like, in the future, it'll be moving so fast you can't see it without a strobe light.
Yeah. You could probably do that right now.
And no one's really paying attention too much other than people like you or people that are really obsessed with technology. All these things are happening, and these robots are... Did you see the one where PETA put out a statement that you shouldn't kick robots?
It's probably not wise.
For retribution.
Their memory's very good.
I bet it's really good.
It's really good.
I bet it is.
Yes.
And getting better every day.
It's really good.
Are you honestly, legitimately concerned about this? Is AI one of your main worries in regards to the future?
Yes. It's less of a worry than it used to be, mostly due to taking more of a fatalistic attitude.
So you used to have more hope, and you gave up some of it, and now you don't worry as much about AI. You're like, this is just what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, yes.
What?
But no, it's not necessarily bad. It's definitely going to be outside of human control.
not necessarily bad, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily bad. It's just outside of human control. Now, the thing that's going to be tricky here is that it's going to be very tempting to use AI as a weapon. It's going to be very tempting. In fact, it will be used as a weapon. So the on-ramp to serious AI, the danger is going to be more humans using it against each other, I think, most likely. That'll be the danger. Yeah.
How far do you think we are from something that can make its own mind up, whether or not something's ethically or morally correct, or whether or not it wants to do something, or whether or not it wants to improve itself, or whether or not it wants to protect itself from people or from other AI? How far away are we from something that's really, truly sentient?
Well, I mean, you could argue that any group of people, like a company is essentially a cybernetic collective of people and machines. That's what a company is. And then there's different levels of complexity in the way these companies are formed. And then there's this sort of like a collective AI in the Google search, where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree. And we're all feeding this network without questions and answers. We're all collectively programming the AI, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective. This is also true of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all these social networks. They're giant cybernetic collectives.
Humans and electronics all interfacing, and constantly connected.
Yes. Constantly.
One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot over the last few years is that one of the things that drives a lot of people crazy is how many people are obsessed with materialism and getting the latest, greatest thing. And I wonder how much of that is, well, a lot of it is most certainly fueling technology and innovation. And it almost seems like it's built into us. It's like what we like and what we want, that we're fueling this thing that's constantly around us all the time. And it doesn't seem possible that people are going to pump the brakes. It doesn't seem possible at this stage when we're constantly expecting the newest cell phone, the latest Tesla update, the newest MacBook Pro. Everything has to be newer and better. And that's going to lead to some incredible point. And it seems like it's built into us. It almost seems like it's an instinct that we're working towards this, that we like it. Mm-hmm. That our job, just like the ants build the anthill, our job is to somehow or another fuel this.
Yes. I mean, when I made those comments some years ago, but it feels like we are the biological bootloader for AI, effectively. We are building it. And then we're building progressively greater intelligence. And the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence. But the AI is informed, strangely, by the human limbic system. It is, in large part, our id writ large.
How so?
Well, you mentioned all those things, the sort of primal drives. Mm-hmm. There's all the things that we like and hate and fear. They're all there on the internet. They're a projection of our limbic system. It's true.
No, it makes sense. And the thinking of it as thinking of corporations and just thinking of just human beings communicating online through these social media networks as some sort of an organism it's a cyborg. It's a combination. It's a combination of electronics and biology.
Yeah.
Does this
in some measure, like is the success of these online systems is sort of a function of how much limbic resonance they're able to achieve with people. The more limbic resonance, the more engagement.
Whereas, like, one of the reasons why probably Instagram is more enticing than Twitter.
Limbic resonance.
Yeah, you get more images, more video.
Yes.
It's tweaking your system more.
Yes.
Do you worry about or wonder, in fact, about what the next step is? I mean, a lot of people didn't see Twitter coming, that, communicate with 140 characters or 280 now would be a thing that people would be interested in. Like, it's going to excel, it's going to become more connected to us, right?
Yes. Things are getting more and more connected. They're, at this point, constrained by bandwidth. Our input-output is slow, particularly output. Output got worse with thumbs. We used to have input with 10 fingers, now we have thumbs. But images are they're a way of communicating at high bandwidth. You take pictures and you send pictures to people. That communicates far more information than you can communicate with your thumbs.
So what happened with you where you decided, or you took on a more fatalistic attitude? Like, what was there any specific thing, or was it just the inevitability of our future?
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
This seems
Nobody
like a scene
listened.
in a movie
Nobody
where
listened.
the robots are going to fucking take over and you're freaking me out. Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one. Are people more inclined to listen today? It seems like an issue that's brought up more often over the last few years than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. It seemed like science fiction.
Maybe they will. So far, they haven't. I think people don't, normally the way that regulations work is very slow. It's very slow indeed. So, usually there'll be some new technology. It will cause damage or death. There will be an outcry. There will be an investigation. Years will pass. There will be some sort of insight committee. There will be rulemaking. Then there will be oversight, eventually regulations. This all takes many years. This is the normal course of things. If you look at, say, automotive regulations, how long did it take for seatbelts to be implemented, to be required? The auto industry fought seatbelts, I think, for more than a decade. Successfully fought any regulations on seatbelts, even though the numbers were extremely obvious. If you had a seatbelt on, you would be far less likely to die or be seriously injured. It was unequivocal. And the industry fought this for years successfully. Eventually, after many, many people died, regulators insisted on seatbelts. This time frame is not relevant to AI. You can't take 10 years from the point at which it's dangerous. It's too late.
And you feel like this is decades away or years away from being too late? If you have this fatalistic attitude and you feel like it's going, we're in almost like a doomsday countdown.
It's not necessarily a doomsday countdown. It's a
out of control countdown.
Out of control, yeah. People call it the singularity, and that's probably a good way to think about it. It's a singularity. It's hard to predict, like a black hole. What happens past the event horizon?
Right. So once it's implemented, it's very different because it will
once
be
the
able
genie's
to
out of the bottle. What's going to happen?
And it will be able to improve itself.
Yes.
That's where it gets spooky, right? The idea that it can do thousands of years of innovation very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then we'll be just ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
We will be like this ridiculous biological shitting, pissing thing trying to stop the gods. No, stop. We like living with a finite lifespan and watching, Norman Rockwell paintings.
It could be terrible, and it could be great. It's not clear.
Right.
But one thing is for sure, we will not control it.
Do you think that it's likely that we will merge somehow or another with this sort of technology and it'll augment what we are now? Or do you think it will replace us?
Well, that's the scenario. The merge scenario with AI is the one that seems like probably the best. Like
for us.
Yes. Like if you can't beat it, join it. That's
yeah.
So from a long-term existential standpoint, that's like the purpose of Neuralink, is to create a high bandwidth interface to the brain such that we can be symbiotic with AI. Because we have a bandwidth problem. You just can't communicate through your fingers. It's too slow.
And where's Neuralink at right now?
I think we'll have something interesting to announce in a few months. That's at least an order of magnitude better than anything else. I think better than probably anyone thinks is possible.
How much can you talk about that right now?
I don't want to jump the gun on that.
But what's like the ultimate? What's the idea behind it? Like, what are you trying to accomplish with it? Like, what would you like? Best case scenario.
I think best case scenario, we effectively merge with AI, where AI serves as a tertiary cognition layer, where we've got the limbic system, kind of the primitive brain essentially. You've got the cortex. So you're currently in a symbiotic relationship. Your cortex and limbic system are in a symbiotic relationship, and generally people like their cortex and they like their limbic system. I haven't met anyone who wants to delete their limbic system or delete their cortex. Everybody seems to like both. And the cortex is mostly in service to the limbic system. People may think that the thinking part of themselves is in charge, but it's mostly their limbic system that's in charge. And the cortex is trying to make the limbic system happy. That's what most of that computing power is oriented towards. How can I make the limbic system happy? That's what it's trying to do. Now, if we can have a third layer, which is the AI extension of yourself, that is also symbiotic. And there's enough bandwidth between the cortex and the AI extension of yourself such that the AI doesn't de facto separate, then that could be a good outcome. That could be quite a positive outcome for the future.
So instead of replacing us, it will radically change our capabilities.
Yes, it will enable anyone who wants to have superhuman cognition. Anyone who wants. This is not a matter of earning power, because your earning power would be vastly greater after you do it. So it's just like anyone who wants can just do it. In theory. That's the theory. And if that's the case, then, and let's say billions of people do it, then the outcome for humanity will be the sum of human will, the sum of billions of people's desire for the future. And
but
that
billions of people with enhanced cognitive ability, radically enhanced.
Yes.
And which would be, how much different than people today? Like if you had to explain it to a person who didn't really understand what you were saying, like how much different are you talking about? When you say radically improved, like what do you mean? You mean mind reading?
It would be difficult to really appreciate the difference. It's kind of like, how much smarter are you with a phone or computer than without? You're vastly smarter, actually. You can answer any question. If you're connected to the internet, you can answer any question pretty much instantly, any calculation. Your phone's memory is essentially perfect. You can remember flawlessly. Your phone can remember videos, pictures, and everything perfectly. That your phone is already an extension of you. You're already a cyborg. Most people don't realize they are already a cyborg. That phone is an extension of yourself. It's just that the data rate, the rate at which, or the communication rate between you and the cybernetic extension of yourself that is your phone and computer is slow. It's very slow. And that it's like a tiny straw of information flow between your biological self and your digital self. And we need to make that tiny straw like a giant river, huge, high bandwidth interface. It's an interface problem, data rate problem. If we solve the data rate problem, then I think we can hang on to human-machine symbiosis through the long term. And then people may decide that they want to retain their biological self or not. I think they'll probably choose to retain their biological self.
Versus some sort of Ray Kurzweil scenario where they download themselves into a computer?
You will be essentially snapshotted into a computer at any time. If your biological self dies, you could probably just upload into a new unit. Literally.
Pass that whiskey. We're getting crazy over here. This is getting ridiculous.
Down the rabbit hole.
Grab that sucker. Give me some of that. This is too freaky. See, if I've
been thinking about this for a long time, by the way.
I believe you have. If I was talking to one of my... Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Yeah, this is great whiskey.
Thank you. I don't know where this came from. Who brought this to us?
Trying to remember.
Somebody gave it to us. Yeah. Old Camp, whoever it was. Thanks. It's good. Yeah, it is good. This is just inevitable. Again, going back to when you decided to have this fatalistic viewpoint. So you tried to warn people. You talked about this pretty extensively. I've read several interviews where you talked about this, and then you just sort of just said, "Okay, it just is. Let's just." And you, in a way, you're by communicating the potential fear. I mean, for sure, you're getting the warning out to some people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was really going on the warning quite a lot. I was warning everyone I could. You ever met with Obama and just for one reason, like,
just talk about AI.
Yes.
And what did he say? He said, "What about Hillary? Worry about her first." Shh. Everybody be quiet.
No, he listened. He certainly listened. I met with Congress. I was at a meeting of all 50 governors and talked about just AI danger. And I talked to everyone I could. No one seemed to realize where this was going.
Is it that, or do they just assume that someone smarter than them is already taking care of it? Because when people hear about something like AI, it's almost abstract. It's almost like it's so hard to wrap your head around it. By the time it already happens, it'll be too late.
Yeah, I think they didn't quite understand it, or didn't think it was near term, or not sure what to do about it. When I said, like, an obvious thing to do is to just establish a committee, government committee, to gain insight, before you do oversight, before you do make regulations, you should try to understand what's going on. And then if you have an insight committee, then once they learn what's going on, get up to speed, then they can make maybe some rules or propose some rules. And that would be probably a safer way to go about things.
It seems, I know that it's probably something that the government's supposed to handle, but it seems like I don't want the government to handle this.
Who do you want to handle it?
I want you to handle this.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. I feel like you're the one who could ring the bell better. Because if Mike Pence starts talking about AI, I'm like, shut up, bitch. You don't know anything about AI. Come on, man. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, but I don't have the power to regulate other companies. What am I supposed to?
Right. But maybe companies could agree. Maybe there could be some sort of we have agreements where you're not supposed to dump toxic waste into the ocean. You're not supposed to do certain things that could be terribly damaging, even though they'd be profitable. maybe this is one of those things. Maybe we should realize that you can't hit the switch on something that's going to be able to think for itself and make up its own mind as to whether or not it wants to survive or not, and whether or not it thinks you're a threat. And whether or not it thinks you're useless. Like, why do I keep this dumb, finite life form alive? Why keep this thing around? It's just stupid. It just keeps polluting everything, shitting everywhere it goes, lighting everything on fire and shooting each other. Why would I keep this stupid thing alive? Because sometimes it makes good music, sometimes it makes great movies, sometimes it makes beautiful art, and sometimes sometimes it's cool to hang out with.
Yes, all those reasons.
Yeah, for us, those are great reasons.
Yes.
But for anything objective, standing outside, this is definitely a flawed system.
Episode number 2044 with Sam Altman. AI will revolutionize society. Sharing benefits and decision-making is crucial for humans to adapt.
And wondering what the potential for the future is and whether or not that's a good thing.
I think it's going to be a great thing, but I think it's not going to be all a great thing. And that is where I think that's where all of the complexity comes in for people. It's not this like clean story of we're going to do this and it's all going to be great. It's we're going to do this. It's going to be net great, but it's going to be like a technological revolution. It's going to be a societal revolution. And those always come with change. And even if it's like net wonderful, there's things we're going to lose along the way. Some kinds of jobs, some kind of parts of our way of life, some parts of the way we live are going to change or go away. And no matter how tremendous the upside is there, and I believe it will be tremendously good. There's a lot of stuff we got to navigate through to make sure. That's a complicated thing for anyone to wrap their heads around, and there's deep and super understandable emotions around that.
That's a very honest answer. That it's not all going to be good, but it seems inevitable at this point.
It's definitely inevitable. My view of the world, when you're like a kid in school, you learn about this technological revolution and then that one and then that one. And my view of the world now, sort of looking backwards and forwards, is that this is like one long technological revolution. And we had, first we had to figure out agriculture so that we had the resources and time to figure out how to build machines. And then we got this industrial revolution, and that made us learn about a lot of stuff, a lot of other scientific discovery too. Let us do the computer revolution, and that's now letting us, as we scale up to these massive systems, do the AI revolution. But it really is just one long story of humans discovering science and technology and co-evolving with it. And I think it's the most exciting story of all time. I think it's how we get to this world of abundance. And although we do have these things to navigate, and there will be these downsides, if you think about what it means for the world, and for people's quality of lives, if we can get to a world where the cost of intelligence and the abundance that comes with that, the cost dramatically falls, the abundance goes way up. I think we'll do the same thing with energy. And I think those are the two sort of key inputs to everything else we want. So if we can have abundant and cheap energy and intelligence, that will transform people's lives largely for the better. And I think it's going to, in the same way that if we could go back now 500 years and look at someone's life, we'd say, well, there's some great things, but they didn't have this, they didn't have that. Can you believe they didn't have modern medicine? That's what people are going to look back at us like, but in 50 years.
When you think about the people that currently rely on jobs that AI will replace, when you think about whether it's truck drivers or automation workers, people that work in factory assembly lines, what, if anything, what strategies can be put to mitigate the negative downsides of those jobs being eliminated by AI?
So I'll talk about some general thoughts, but I find making very specific predictions difficult because the way the technology goes has been so different than even my own intuitions, or certainly my own intuitions.
Maybe we should stop there and back up a little. What were your initial thoughts?
If you had asked me 10 years ago, I would have said, first, AI is going to come for blue-collar labor, basically. It's going to drive trucks and do factory work, and it'll handle heavy machinery. Then maybe after that, it'll do like some kinds of cognitive labor, but not. It won't be off doing what I think of personally as the really hard stuff. It won't be off proving new mathematical theorems, won't be off, discovering new science, won't be off writing code. And then eventually, maybe, but maybe last of all, maybe never, because human creativity is this magic special thing. Last of all, it'll come for the creative jobs. That's what I would have said. Now, it looks to me like, and for a while, AI is much better at doing tasks than doing jobs. It can do these little pieces super well, but sometimes it goes off the rails. It can't keep like very long coherence. So people are instead just able to do their existing jobs way more productively. But you really still need the human there today. And then B, it's going exactly the other direction. It could do the creative work first, stuff like coding second. They can do things like other kinds of cognitive labor third. And we're the furthest away from like humanoid robots.
So back to the initial question. If we do have something that completely eliminates factory workers, completely eliminates truck drivers, delivery drivers, things along those lines, that creates this massive vacuum in our society.
So I think there's things that we're going to do that are good to do but not sufficient. So I think at some point we will do something like a UBI or some other kind of like very long-term unemployment insurance something, but we'll have some way of giving people, like redistributing money in society as a cushion for people as people figure out the new jobs. But, and maybe I should touch on that. I'm not a believer at all that there won't be lots of new jobs. I think human creativity, desire for status, wanting different ways to compete, invent new things, feel part of a community, feel valued, that's not going to go anywhere. People have worried about that forever. What happens is we get better tools and we just invent new things and more amazing things to do. And there's a big universe out there. And I think, I mean that like literally in that there's like space is really big, but also there's just so much stuff we can all do if we do get to this world of abundant intelligence where you can sort of just think of a new idea and it gets created. But again, that doesn't, to the point we started with, that doesn't provide like great solace to people who are losing their jobs today. So saying there's going to be this great indefinite stuff in the future, people are like, what are we doing today? So, I think we will as a society do things like UBI and other ways of redistribution, but I don't think that gets at the core of what people want. I think what people want is like agency, self-determination, the ability to play a role in architecting the future along with the rest of society, the ability to express themselves and create something meaningful to them. And also, I think a lot of people work jobs they hate, and I think we as a society are always a little bit confused about whether we want to work more or work less. But somehow that we all get to do something meaningful and we all get to play our role in driving the future forward. That's really important. And what I hope is as those long-haul truck driving jobs go away, which, people have been wrong about predicting how fast that's going to happen, but it's going to happen. We figure out not just a way to solve the economic problem by like giving people the equivalent of money every month, but that there's a way that, and we have a lot of ideas about this, there's a way that we like share ownership and decision making over the future. A thing I say a lot about AGI is that everyone realizes we're going to have to share the benefits of that, but we also have to share like the decision making over it and access to the system itself. Like I'd be more excited about a world where we say, rather than give everybody on Earth like 1/8 billionth of the AGI money, which we should do that too, we say you get like 1/8 billionth of a 1/8 billionth slice of the system. You can sell it to somebody else. You can sell it to a company. You can pool it with other people. You can use it for whatever creative pursuit you want. You can use it to figure out how to start some new business. And with that, you get sort of like a voting right over how this is all going to be used. And so the better the AGI gets, the more your little 1/8 billionth ownership is worth to you.
We were joking around the other day on the podcast where I was saying that what we need is an AI government. We should have an AI president. and have AI
Just
run
make all the
things.
decisions?
Yeah, have something that's completely unbiased, absolutely rational, has the accumulated knowledge of the entire human history at its disposal, including all knowledge of psychology and psychological study, including UBI, because that comes with a host of, pitfalls and issues that people have with it.
So I'll say something there. I think we're still very far away from a system that is capable enough and reliable enough that any of us would want that. But I'll tell you something I love about that. Someday, let's say that thing gets built. The fact that it can go around and talk to every person on Earth, understand their exact preferences at a very deep level, how they think about this issue and that one and how they balance the trade-offs and what they want, and then understand all of that and like collectively optimize for the collective preferences of humanity or of citizens of the U.S., that's awesome.
As long as it's not co-opted, right? Our government currently is co-opted.
That's for sure.
We know for sure that our government is heavily influenced by special interests. If we could have an artificial intelligence government that has no influence, nothing has influence on it.
What a fascinating idea.
It's possible. And I think it might be the only way where you're going to get completely objective, the absolute most intelligent decision for virtually every problem, every dilemma that we face currently in society.
Would you truly be comfortable handing over like final decision making and say, all right, AI, you got it from here?
No, but I'm not comfortable doing that with anybody.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I was uncomfortable with the Patriot Act. I'm uncomfortable with many decisions that are being made. It's just there's so much obvious evidence that decisions that are being made are not being made in the best interest of the overall well of the people. It's being made in the decisions of whatever gigantic corporations that have donated to and whatever the military industrial complex and pharmaceutical industrial complex and then just the money. That's really what we know today, that money has a massive influence on our society and the choices that get made and the overall good or bad for the population.
Yeah, I have no disagreement at all that the current system is super broken, not working for people, super corrupt, and for sure, like, unbelievably run by money.
Yeah.
And I think there is a way to do a better job than that with AI in some way, but and this might just be like a factor of sitting with the systems all day and watching all of the ways they fail. We got a long way to go.
A long way to go, I'm sure. But when you think of AGI, when you think of the possible future, like where it goes to, do you ever extrapolate? Do you ever like sit and pause and say, well, if this becomes sentient and it has the ability to make better versions of itself, how long before we're literally dealing with a god?
So the way that I think about this is it used to be that like AGI was this very binary moment. It was before and after. And I think I was totally wrong about that. And the right way to think about it is this continuum of intelligence, this smooth exponential curve, back all the way to that sort of smooth curve of technological revolution. The amount of compute power we can put into the system, the scientific ideas about how to make it more efficient and smarter, to give it the ability to do reasoning, to think about how to improve itself, that will all come. But my model for a long time, I think if you look at the world of AGI thinkers, there's sort of two, particularly around the safety issues you're talking about, there's two axes that matter. There's the what's called short timelines or long timelines. To the first milestone of AGI, whatever that's going to be. Is that going to happen in a few years, a few decades, maybe even longer? Although at this point, I think most people are a few years or a few decades. And then there's takeoff speed. Once we get there, from there to that point you were talking about where it's capable of the rapid self-improvement, is that a slow or a fast process? The world that I think we're in, and also the world that I think is the most controllable and the safest, is the short timelines and slow takeoff quadrant. And I think we're going to have, there were a lot of very smart people for a while who were like, the thing you were just talking about happens in a day or 3 days. And that doesn't seem likely to me given the shape of the technology as we understand it now. Now, even if that happens in a decade or 3 decades, it's still like the blink of an eye from a historical perspective. And there are going to be some real challenges to getting that right. And the decisions we make, the sort of safety systems and the checks that the world puts in place, how we think about global regulation or rules of the road from a safety perspective for those projects, it's super important because you can imagine many things going horribly wrong. But I feel cheerful about the progress the world is making towards taking this seriously. And, it reminds me of what I've read about the conversations that the world had right around the development of nuclear weapons.
Episode number 2320, Tom Segura talk about AI is rapidly transforming filmmaking, from creating actors to full movies, raising fears about authenticity, jobs, and a future indistinguishable from virtual worlds. 2326, Jimmy Carr says AI is like an emerging god, reshaping humanity, work, and potential. Number 1980, Michio Kaku warns current AI just remixes data, but quantum computing could fact-check reality and unlock unimaginable scientific breakthroughs.
Now, in application of this thing, one of the things that we're seeing right now, when we're talking about quantum computing, back to that, one of the things we're seeing now is ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm, right.
ChatGPT, which is this fascinating AI program that essentially scours the entire internet for answers for things and is so good at it. The answers for things, for just data, people are getting diagnosed with certain diseases based on symptoms and blood work, and it's super accurate. Legal papers, it could fill out legal forms, and it's wild, the capacity that it has right now.
You can pass the bar exam that way, too.
Yes.
The bar exam can be passed with a chatbot.
Yeah, it's like 98%, right? Now, here's the question. If quantum computing gets involved in AI, what are we looking at?
Well, first of all, AI is a software program. We're talking about homogenizing different kinds of essays on the web, splicing them together, and then passing it off as your latest creation. Basically, plagiarism using digital computers. It's a software question. However, quantum computers is bigger than that. Quantum computers is a hardware question where it actually increases your ability to do much more than with an ordinary digital computer. So the two of them, the chatbots that are a revolution in software, and then quantum computers, which are a revolution in hardware, when they get together, watch out. So we're talking about an extremely powerful alliance between software and hardware. Now, also, as you know, chatbots will also lie, cheat, swindle, joke, and do all sorts of crazy things.
Yes.
If you're a high school kid, you could write all sorts of science fiction scenarios, and some chatbot may grab pieces of that nonsense and incorporate it into their essay.
Oh, interesting. So
Right.
it can't discern what's accurate.
Exactly. The whole point. This is the whole ball of wax. Chatbots do not know what is correct or incorrect.
They just gather information so they could be gamed.
That's right. All they do is homogenize, cut up existing things that sound human, put it together, and then people say, my God, that sounds like a human wrote it. Of course, a human did write it.
Isn't that interesting that they could game that also if they wanted to find out what percentage of people believed a certain thing? If they had some bad actors, some foreign governments that decided they were going to spread narratives as widely as possible, and ChatGPT just gathers up all this information, it could give you an incorrect understanding of what's happening in the world.
That's
it can give
right.
you an incorrect understanding of politics, of
The whole
economics.
point is that even though there's a good aspect to all these software programs, the downside is that you can fabricate truth because it cannot tell the difference between false and what is false and what is true.
That's very
If
interesting.
you talk to the chatbot and say, do you know the difference between correct and incorrect? And they say, no, it's just on the web. They're just instructed to cobble together existing paragraphs, splice them together and polish it up, and then spit it out. But is it correct? It doesn't care. It doesn't know.
So it is essentially like an amazing resource of information that's very flawed, that can't discern and can't think.
I do this. I have this problem all the time. I'm a professor, and I give assignments to the students, sometimes write a term paper. So what do? Some of them plagiarize.
Oh, how do you catch them?
Well, you read the essay, and then you read another essay, and you say, I've heard that before. I've seen that
the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, right. The old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
But you see, that's what a chatbot is. A chatbot is like a teenager that plagiarizes other people's essays, passes it off as their own. Now, I'm a scientist. We like to think about things that are creative, new, innovative, things that'll change our perception of the world. None of that, absolutely none of that comes from a chatbot. A chatbot simply rearranges pre-existing essays. That's all it does.
The thing is, though, that's all it does now. That's what's interesting. What's interesting is what you're talking about with quantum computing and the insane computational power.
Right.
And then apply that to having access to all of the information.
Right. But there's a good aspect, too. You know, when I write a book, my publisher has a fact checker. A fact checker that goes through all the different statements that I make to make sure that they're all correct. There is no fact checker for chatbots. Let me repeat that again. There is no fact checker for chatbots. That is the whole ball of wax. That's the reason why they're so dangerous. Because they don't know. These chatbots are machines. They don't know what is correct, what is incorrect. It's all the same to them. That's the danger, that they could incorporate teenagers ranting and raving about all sorts of garbage and put that in with articles that sound reasonable. You see, that's the problem. Now, here's where quantum computers come in. Quantum computers can act as a fact checker. You can ask a quantum computer to remove all the garbage, remove all the nonsense in these articles, and it'll do that. So, in other words, the hardware may be a check on some of the wild statements made by software.
But the problem with that is, who's the arbiter of the information? Like, who decides what's real and what's not? How does the chatbot decide? Is the chatbot ideologically biased?
The chatbot doesn't. The chatbot simply spits it out.
The quantum computing does.
Yeah, quantum computing can then...
it's going to be able to discern what's real and what's not real, even what's propaganda?
If there are gradations of what is true, like it is partially true or whatever, it could give you the detailed understanding of what could be misconstrued, what is partially correct, what is misleading but partially correct. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Right now, the chatbot just splices it together like an editor. That's all it is, an editor, not a fact checker. And spits out cobbled together articles that sound reasonable, but there could be dynamite inside some of these articles that were spliced into what was proposed. With a quantum computer, you can fact check things. And then you can say, this is 90% correct, this is totally wrong, this is sometimes correct, and you get gradations of what is correct and incorrect.
Well, if you can get an objectively accurate fact checker, that would be a huge step up from what we have today, because a lot of people have very little faith in certain fact checkers. And when you find out that they're ideologically biased or they're governmentally biased, and if you could have something that could just tell you, have you been paying attention to how Twitter's doing it now, where they have community notes? Have you seen this?
No, I haven't.
It's interesting. Like, say if someone makes a statement about something controversial, climate change, whatever, and then this controversial statement gets refuted in the community notes. And then people will start commenting, and really intelligent, very well-read people on specific subjects will chime in with peer-reviewed papers and all these different statistics and that show, and then Twitter will correct it. And it will say, readers have said, and then put up the relevant information.
Right. See, that's what chatbots do not do today.
Yeah.
They have no understanding of correct or incorrect, false and truth. No understanding of that. But with hardware coming into the picture that is more advanced, then, yeah, you're talking about machines that can do that automatically.
But is the problem who controls that machine? Like, say if China gets a hold of one of those machines first, if they develop a quantum computer first and they start implementing it.
Well, we have to make sure that our quantum computers can check other people's quantum computers to make sure that they're not fudging the facts.
Right.
Now,
That's what I'm
remember
talking
that
about.
if this is not done legally, if there are no laws passed in this direction, and it's like the Wild West, then, of course, the politicians get involved, and it becomes a real mess. Now, we do know that you cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. Therefore, there are limits to free speech. We get that. But how do you make limits on statements that are written on the web that no human can possibly follow?
Right.
That's where quantum computers can come in. Quantum computers are powerful enough to survey the entire landscape and give reasonable rebuttals to things that are just outrageous.
Well, more than that, it's going to be able to instantaneously change how we interact with each other in terms of language barriers, all these issues that we have currently. I'm sure you're aware of Google had their earbuds. There was a feature where, if you went to Spain and didn't speak Spanish, you could talk to it, and they would talk to it, and it would translate back and forth. So you could have a real-time conversation. I'm not sure how good is it. How good is that, Jim? But if there's something like augmented reality, and we have something like that, you're going to be able to instantaneously translate what people are saying.
Yeah.
There'll be no language barriers for people. We'll be able to. I think that would change just human perception across the world, just the way we view each other. It's so easy to think of each other as being different because we speak a different language and we live in a different part of the planet. But that would literally change how we interact with each other.
Yeah, and just remember that where do correct ideas come from? Correct ideas come from interaction with incorrect ideas. It's the struggle between ideas out of which correct ideas emerge. And this does not happen on the internet because, of course, with chatbots, everything is cobbled together, cut, spliced, and simply glued together with Scotch tape, masquerading as an essay. So with fact-checking, I think it's going to be different because unless we do fact-checking, the politicians will get involved.
Yes.
And this is going to be a real mess. So I would hope that the industry does fact-checking by itself rather than having politicians do it.
It's such an important point that you said, where you said that the bad ideas have to exist so the good ideas triumph. And that's really an argument against censorship on the internet, which is another problem that people have. Especially censorship when it comes to something being ideologically based. But when you're thinking about quantum computing, I think this is small potatoes, right? I think we're looking at literally being able to change how we interact with the universe. Like when we were talking on our last podcast about the preponderance of evidence that there's things that operate inside of our atmosphere that are beyond imagination, that are They operate with no visible means of propulsion. They move at insane speeds. We don't understand what they are. If we think about what quantum computing is going to be capable of, that's the kind of stuff we're thinking about, right?
Yeah. You see, quantum computers are the ultimate computers because they're computing on atoms. If there are aliens in outer space, and I think there are, it means that they also have perfected quantum computers, and they can do calculations that are far beyond anything that we can calculate with. Like, for example, a wormhole. A wormhole, in principle, is a gateway between two distant points in space and time, which allows you to break the Einstein barrier and go faster than the speed of light. But the calculations are horrendous. It may take a quantum computer to sort through what happens when you go through a wormhole and wind up on the other side of the universe. And the aliens probably already have done that.
Yeah,
They've probably had centuries of experience with quantum computers because that's the ultimate computer. You can't compute on anything smaller than an atom. And they probably already have used the quantum computers to navigate through wormholes, let's say, hypothetically.
It's so fascinating when you think of where we were just a few thousand years ago, or a few hundred years ago, to where we are now. And then you imagine the invention of quantum computing. You imagine everything just... The whole idea of whatever we think of current computer progression just goes out the window. And it's insane calculation capabilities. Like we could be able to do something like that in the future.
Right. Quantum computers allows us to calculate things that are way beyond our ability to calculate today, like going through a wormhole or warp drive, or even the question of multiple universes. People ask the question, how come quantum computers are so powerful? It's because they compute in parallel universes. This is the multiverse, which, of course, Marvel Comics has discovered and the Oscars have discovered recently. But the multiverse idea comes from quantum physics. Electrons can be two places at the same time. Now, some people have a hard time getting their head around that, but get used to it. That's why we have lasers. That's why we have transistors. That's why we have the internet. That's why we have this conversation. Because the electrons that are in this microphone dance between universes at the atomic level. And so we have to get used to the idea that quantum computers introduces a whole new way of looking at reality. Now, reality is not a Marvel comic, but the idea of the multiverse comes from quantum physics, and that is electrons can be multiple places at the same time.
Episode number 2076 with Raskin and Tristan Harris. A chilling warning about how rapidly advancing AI could bypass safeguards and enable dangerous, real-world. Episode number 2344, Joe Rogan with Amjad Masad. AI empowers human creativity and entrepreneurship.
Winner is coming up in
I mean, everyone, all these alien movies, it's so fascinating. You try to like imagine,